In the verdant, waterlogged heartlands of Southeast Asia, the day ends not with a gentle fade, but with a swift, dramatic plunge into darkness. As the sun bleeds a brilliant orange and deep crimson across the horizon, casting the silhouettes of skeletal palm trees against the sky, a profound change begins to sweep over the land. The oppressive humidity of the day gives way to a cooler, velvet-soft air, thick with the scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine. The rhythmic chirping of cicadas, a constant thrum throughout the day, surrenders to the deeper, throatier chorus of frogs in the shimmering rice paddies. For a fleeting moment, as the last sliver of light vanishes, a deceptive peace settles over the small villages of Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. But it is a peace that holds its breath. As true night claims the landscape, another, more ancient ritual begins. In the stilt houses that cluster along the riverbanks and amongst the fields, wooden shutters are closed and latched. Kerosene lamps are lit, their warm, flickering glow doing little to push back the immense, swallowing darkness outside. Mothers call their children indoors with an urgency in their voice that seems to deepen with the lengthening shadows. Livestock are secured with extra care. A palpable sense of caution descends, a communal, unspoken understanding that the world beyond their thin wooden walls now belongs to something else. The vibrant sounds of the village, the laughter, the distant putter of a tuk-tuk, the barking of dogs, all die down, replaced by a watchful, heavy silence. This is not a fear born of bandits or wild animals. The jungles here hold their share of dangers, of course, but those are earthly, understandable threats. The dread that arrives with the setting sun is something far older, far more intimate. It is not the fear of a monster from a distant, unknown place. It is the terror of a monster from within. It is the horror of the familiar turned profane, the chilling possibility that the face of a neighbor, a friend, or even a family member could become a vessel for an unspeakable evil after dark. Every culture has its boogeymen, its cautionary tales to keep children from straying. But this legend is different. It doesn't hide in the woods waiting for you to wander in. It lives next door. The form this terror takes is the stuff of fever dreams, a ghastly violation of the natural order. It is an apparition that begins with the grotesque, silent detachment of a woman's head from her sleeping body. With a soft, wet sound that is never heard, it separates from the neck, levitating into the air, its long black hair trailing behind it like a funeral shroud. But it is not just a head. Dangling beneath, in a macabre display of spectral anatomy, hangs its glistening vital organs. The trachea, the esophagus, and the pulsing, glowing heart, all held together by a nightmarish trailing web of intestines that writhe in the air like pale, ghostly serpents. This is the legend of the Krasue, a spirit as tragically human as it is monstrously inhuman, a creature damned by a curse of insatiable, profane hunger that has haunted the region for centuries. To witness the Krasue is to have the boundaries of reality shredded before your eyes. It defies logic, a waking nightmare that moves with an eerie, unnatural purpose. While the legends whisper countless variations in their telling from village to village, the core of its horrific form remains terrifyingly consistent, a portrait of horror etched into the collective psyche of a people. By night, under the silver light of a full moon, or cloaked in the absolute blackness of a starless sky, it is a sight that breaks the mind. A disembodied, floating head. But to call it just a head is a profound understatement. It is an obscene and animated diagram of life stripped bare. The face is invariably that of a woman, often described as tragically beautiful even in its spectral state. Her eyes, wide and luminous, glow with a faint but distinctly malevolent light. Sometimes a sickly phosphorescent green, other times a predatory burning red. Her long black hair floats weightlessly around her, fanning out like a dark halo, a stark contrast to her deathly pale skin. It is a vision that could almost be beautiful, a ghostly nymph of the night, were it not for the ghastly anatomy that trails beneath. From the severed, raw stump of her neck hangs the very machinery of life, exposed for all to see. The windpipe, the stomach, the vascular system, all dripping with a spectral ichor, form a gruesome, tangled chandelier. At the very center of this grotesque cluster hangs the heart, which pulses with an unnatural, rhythmic light, casting an eerie, pulsating glow on the creature's own intestines. This is the Krasue's lantern, a faint beacon of horror that alerts the watchful of its approach. Her intestines, long and shimmering, writhe and trail behind her like the tentacles of a deep-sea jellyfish, searching and tasting the night air. The apparition glides through the countryside with a silent, haunting grace. It does not fly so much as float, propelled by an unseen force, capable of navigating dense thickets of bamboo and tight spaces between houses with impossible agility. It is a creature born of stealth. There is no roar, no monstrous cry to announce its coming. The only sounds are the soft, wet rustling of its organs brushing against palm fronds, or the faint, almost inaudible squelch as it moves. This silent, purposeful glide makes it all the more terrifying. It does not rampage, it hunts. Its movement is a slow, methodical sweep through the darkened villages and over the moonlit fields, its glowing heart a bobbing, distant will-o'-the-wisp, its entire being focused on a single, all-consuming purpose: to find its next meal. But what hunger could possibly drive such a nightmarish creature? What craving could be so powerful that it compels a spirit to commit such a profound violation of its own form? The appetite of the Krasue is not born of simple sustenance. It is a manifestation of its curse, an endless, gnawing void that can never be truly filled. Its diet is as profane and vile as its very existence, a feast of things that civilized folk would shun and that nature itself would deem unclean. The Krasue is at its core a scavenger of the foulest order. In its nocturnal hunts, it is drawn to the scent of decay and waste. Villagers tell stories of seeing its faint, pulsating glow hovering over open latrines or garbage pits, its long, ethereal tongue extending from its disembodied mouth to lap at filth and excrement. This in itself is a repulsive thought, but it is only the beginning of its depravity. The creature is a drinker of blood, but it is not a discerning predator. While it is capable of attacking livestock, leaving behind bewildered farmers to discover their buffalo or cattle drained and weakened in the morning, it prefers easier prey. It is drawn to the afterbirth of recently slaughtered animals, to the blood that stains the ground of a butcher's yard, and to the raw, discarded offal that a less desperate creature would ignore. It feasts on the dead as well as the living. Carrion is a delicacy to the Krasue, and its ghostly light is often reported hovering over the carcasses of animals left to rot in the jungle or fields, its long, writhing intestines coiling around the remains as it feeds. It is this affinity for the unclean, for the things associated with sickness and death, that makes it not just a monster, but a harbinger of pestilence and ill fortune. Its presence is believed to sour the air, to bring sickness to the livestock, and to cast a shadow of decay over any household it frequents. But there is one craving that defines the Krasue's horror above all others, one appetite that has cemented its place as a creature of ultimate dread. It has a particular, insatiable hunger for the life force of the pregnant and the newborn. The scent of an expectant mother is said to be an irresistible lure, drawing the creature for miles. It will hover silently outside the home of a woman in labor, a patient, ghostly predator waiting for the moment of birth. Its goal is twofold, and equally horrifying. It seeks to consume the placenta, a thing of potent life energy, but its true prize is the infant. Stories are told of midwives battling the creature, trying to ward it off with sharpened bamboo or holy charms, as it attempts to extend its long tongue through cracks in the floorboards or windows to reach the birthing mother. If it succeeds, it will attempt to lick the newborn, draining its blood and life force, or even try to consume the small body whole. It is for this reason that houses with pregnant women are heavily fortified, their perimeters surrounded with a thorny, sharp-leaved plant known to repel the Krasue. For in this unholy appetite, the creature reveals its most terrifying aspect. It is a ghost that not only feeds on the dead and the decaying, but one that actively seeks to devour life at its most vulnerable and innocent beginning. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of the Krasue legend is not the disembodied head, nor its profane diet, but its terrifying duality. The creature is not a denizen of some distant, accursed swamp, or a monster confined to a ruined temple. It is a creature that walks among its own prey, sharing the light of day with the very people it terrorizes by night. The curse is a chain, and at the end of that chain is a living, breathing human body. When the first rays of dawn streak the eastern sky, a powerful primal instinct drives the floating head back towards its home. The rising sun is lethal to its spectral form, a purifying fire that would scorch its exposed organs and leave it to perish in agony. Before the last star has faded, the head must return to its point of origin. With the same silent grace with which it departed, it rejoins its waiting headless body, the gruesome seam at the neck sealing itself as if it had never been broken. With the curse dormant, the Krasue resumes the guise of an ordinary woman. She awakens in her bed as her neighbors do. She performs her morning chores, goes to the local market, and speaks with the other villagers. She is, to all outward appearances, one of them. This is the core of the paranoia the legend instills. The monster is not an other. It could be anyone. It could be the quiet woman who sells vegetables at the market, the young wife who recently moved into the village, or even a member of one's own family. She lives a life of quiet desperation, hiding her dreadful nocturnal secret from everyone she knows. There are, however, subtle signs for the watchful, telltale clues that hint at the darkness lurking within. A woman cursed to be a Krasue is often described as seeming detached or listless during the day, her energy drained by her nightly excursions. She might be pale and sickly, with a perpetual weariness in her eyes that no amount of sleep can erase. She often avoids direct eye contact, as if afraid that her own gaze might betray the monster she becomes. Villagers whisper that such a woman will never be seen eating a full, proper meal in the company of others. She will pick at her food or make excuses, her true hunger being of a kind that cannot be satisfied with rice and fish. But the most peculiar and widely believed clue is one that is both mundane and deeply unsettling: the evidence left on the laundry line. In the tight confines of a rural village, clothes are hung out to dry overnight. It is believed that as the Krasue glides between houses on its hunt, its long trailing intestines can easily become snagged on the lines, brushing against the hanging fabrics. Therefore, a villager who finds their clothes inexplicably soiled in the morning, not with mud, but with dark, rust-colored stains of blood or a foul, unidentifiable slime, has been given a terrifying warning. The Krasue has passed by their home. This belief is so ingrained that it has given rise to its own form of folk magic. It is said that if one takes the stained piece of cloth and uses it to wipe their mouth, they can gain a temporary immunity to the Krasue's curse or ill will. It is a small, strange ritual born of a community's desperate need to find some measure of control, some form of defense against a horror that possesses the ultimate camouflage: a human face. How does such a monstrous fate befall a person? What terrible sin or tragic misstep could lead to a life of such grotesque duality? The origin of the Krasue is not a single unified story, but a complex tapestry of dark tales, each thread representing a different path to damnation. These origin stories are as varied as the regions in which they are told, yet they all share a common theme. The curse is never random. It is always a consequence, a dreadful payment for a debt of magic, sin, or broken promises. One of the most common beliefs ties the curse to the perilous pursuit of black magic. In this telling, a woman seeking power, beauty, or perhaps revenge, delves into ancient and forbidden sorcery. She consumes a magical potion or performs a dark ritual, hoping to gain supernatural abilities. But this kind of magic is a treacherous master. A single mistake, a misspoken word in an incantation, an impure ingredient in a potion, a ritual performed at the wrong phase of the moon, can cause the spell to curdle and turn back on its caster. Instead of granting her power, the corrupted magic infects her, twisting her physical form and condemning her to a lifetime of ravenous nocturnal hunger. In this version, the curse is a punishment for hubris, a grim warning against meddling with forces beyond mortal comprehension. Another, more tragic origin story is woven into the fabric of history and folklore. This popular tale speaks of a noble princess from the Khmer Empire, renowned for her beauty. After a war, she was betrothed against her will to a powerful Siamese nobleman, a conqueror. However, her heart already belonged to another, a brave but common soldier in her own army. They continued their affair in secret, but were inevitably discovered. Enraged and humiliated, the nobleman sentenced the princess to death by the most brutal method imaginable, to be burned alive at the stake. As the pyre was lit and the flames began to lick at her feet, a powerful sorceress, a loyal servant of the princess's family, hastily cast a magical spell of protection, an incantation designed to make her body immune to all harm. But the sorceress was moments too late. The fire, swift and merciless, had already consumed the princess's body from the neck down, leaving only her head, her heart, and her vital organs untouched by the spell's magic. The incantation took hold. What was left? Preserving it. But in doing so, it sealed her dreadful fate. She was left as a living, conscious head, forever detached from the body she had lost, her soul now trapped and twisted by an eternal, agonizing hunger for the life she could no longer possess. The curse is also believed to be hereditary, a tainted heirloom passed down through the female line of a family. In these cases, the curse lies dormant, a sleeping serpent in the bloodline. A mother who is a Krasue may pass the affliction to her daughter, sometimes through the sharing of saliva or blood. The daughter will live a normal life, unaware of the horror that she carries within her, until the curse awakens, often triggered by a significant life event or upon the death of her mother. This is perhaps the most tragic origin of all, for the woman is entirely innocent, a victim of a damnation she did not choose, forced to pay for the sins of her ancestors. To know that a Krasue hunts in the fields and alleyways of your village is one thing. To fight back against it is another entirely. Combating such a supernatural entity is no simple task, for it exists in two worlds at once. It is not a lumbering beast that can be felled with a single well-aimed shot, nor a simple spirit that can be banished with a standard prayer. The fight against the Krasue is a desperate affair, a perilous race against time that pits the wit and courage of mortal villagers against an ancient and cunning curse. One cannot simply find the woman who houses the spirit and end her life during the day. This is the most common and fatal mistake one can make. To kill the human host while the curse is dormant is not to destroy the Krasue, but to unleash it. Freed from its fleshly anchor, the spirit becomes a far more powerful and malevolent entity, an untethered ghost now capable of spreading its curse and wreaking havoc without the limitation of needing to return to a body. Thus, the villagers are trapped in a grim paradox. They must suffer the presence of the woman who is their tormentor, for her continued existence is their only protection against a far worse fate. The creature's nocturnal form is itself a formidable opponent. In the air, it is shockingly fast and elusive, able to dart and weave through the trees with impossible speed. The most common form of defense is not attack, but deterrence. Villagers have learned that the Krasue has a deep, instinctual aversion to thorns and sharp objects, which could potentially snag and tear its delicate, trailing organs. To protect their homes, they surround their property with dense hedges of thorny bamboo or hang jagged branches of thorny vines over their windows and beneath the elevated floors of their stilt houses, creating a protective, prickly barrier that the creature is hesitant to cross. But to truly destroy the Krasue, one must embark on a terrifying hunt. The only moment the curse is vulnerable is when it is divided, when the head is out foraging and the body lies helpless and empty. The objective is clear and fraught with peril. Find the soulless, headless body before the Krasue can return to it. Villagers must form search parties armed with torches and blades and systematically search every home and hidden corner of the area where the Krasue is known to hunt. They are looking for the telltale sight of a sleeping woman's body with its head unnervingly absent. Once the body is found, the final, desperate act can begin. There are two primary methods to break the curse. The first is to destroy the body completely, most often by burning it to ash. Without a vessel to return to, the floating head is now a ticking clock. As the first light of dawn approaches, the spirit will become frantic, searching for its lost home. But with its body gone, there is nowhere for it to go. Caught by the purifying rays of the rising sun, the floating head will let out a final, agonizing shriek before being consumed by the light, its spectral form dissolving into nothingness. The second, more cunning method is to prevent its return. The search party can move the body from its hiding place or physically block the entrance to the room where it lies. In some legends, the most effective way is to turn the body over, so that when the head returns, it cannot reattach itself to the neck correctly. The result is the same: a frantic, desperate search as the sky brightens, followed by a final, agonizing death at sunrise. This is the only true way to defeat the monster. A chilling, high-stakes gambit played out in the darkest hours of the night, a terrifying race against the coming of the dawn. The night holds many secrets. In the sterile, well-lit cities of the modern world, it is easy to forget this ancient truth. We have pushed back the darkness with the cold, sterile glow of electricity, replacing the vast star-dusted canopy with a hazy, orange-tinged sky. We have traded the primeval symphony of the nocturnal world for the ceaseless drone of traffic and machinery. We have convinced ourselves that the monsters that once haunted our ancestors have been vanquished, relegated to the dusty pages of books and the flickering silver of a movie screen. But in the quiet places of the world, in the corners where the jungle still presses close and the old ways hold sway, the night remembers and it keeps its secrets well. So, the next time you find yourself far from the comforting noise and artificial light of the city, perhaps traveling through the quiet, verdant countryside of Southeast Asia as the sun begins its fiery descent, pause for a moment. Feel the air grow thick and heavy. Watch as the shadows lengthen and bleed into one another, turning familiar shapes into monstrous, uncertain forms. Listen, and you may hear the true sounds of the encroaching darkness. A faint, mournful cry carried on the wind. Perhaps just a night bird, or perhaps something else. You may see a strange flickering light, a single, bobbing ember moving over the distant, darkened rice fields. Perhaps a lost traveler's lantern, or perhaps the telltale glow of a disembodied, hungry heart. Should you see such a sight or hear such a sound, do not succumb to the modern urge to investigate, to rationalize, to explain away. Do not reach for your phone to capture the phenomenon. Do not go to the window of your guest house for a better look. Remember the old tales, the ones whispered by elders whose own grandparents told them the very same stories. Heed the ancient wisdom that is born of generations of fearful respect for the night. Retreat. Lock your door. Bar your shutters. Turn your face away from the glass, lest you see a beautiful, pale face with glowing eyes staring back at you from the other side. Think of the laundry you left hanging out to dry and say a silent prayer. Hope that your neighbor's dog does not fall silent and that no strange wet stains appear on your doorstep in the morning. Simply stay inside and wait for the merciful, cleansing light of the dawn. For the world is far older and far stranger than we often care to remember. And in the cursed territory, some legends are not just stories. Some legends are still hungry, and they still hunt.